Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Awaited, our show dedicated to coming to know our hidden Imam alayhi salam better. And our guest today is Sheikh Usama Attar. We're going to be looking at the nature and extent of the knowledge of the Imam's knowledge. What is it that he knows? And because we know that there are many debates, particularly with regard to his knowledge of the unseen as well. So inshallah, we will hopefully clarify that today as well. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Of course, one of the main reasons why followers of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam follow the Ahlulbayt is because they were always recognized as the most knowledgeable people of their time. Even during the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the other khulafa who took rule before him still nevertheless acknowledged him as the most knowledgeable person of their time. They used to consult him because they didn't have many answers for questions that were raised. And there are many different theories as well about the extent and nature of the knowledge that has been passed down through the Imams. So I first of all wanted to ask, for example, there is the hadith which can be found in all collections where Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, said Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Ali. Mm-hmm. What does this mean? What was the extent of Imam Ali alayhi salam's knowledge?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. When we talk about the Imam's knowledge now, of course, the ultimate knowledge is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
You know, Allah, one of his attributes is al-Alim, the one who is all-knowing, all-aware. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his wisdom, can give a part of this knowledge to whomever he wills,
yeah,
of his servants. And we find that, for example, in the story of Prophet Khidr alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam, Allah gave some of this knowledge to Prophet Khidr that was hidden, at least the wisdom behind this knowledge was hidden from Prophet Musa alayhi salam in the story of Surah Al-Kahf. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can choose to give the knowledge to whomever he wills of his servants. When we come to prophets, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to them this knowledge or part of this knowledge, and it varies among the prophets. Like in this case, for example, in this one particular incident, Prophet Khidr had some more knowledge than Prophet Musa alayhi salam in this particular incident. When we come to the Imams alayhim salam, we've got to make it clear that their knowledge comes from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam makes it clear in Nahj al-Balagha where he states that Allamani Rasulullah, the Prophet taught me 1,000 branch of knowledge, and each branch has 1,000 branch of knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's very clear that, and the knowledge of Rasulullah comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith that you mentioned just now, that Ali is with the Quran and the Quran with the Ali, this hadith is narrated by Al-Hakim al-Nayshaburi in his Mustadrak from one of the servants of Abu Dharr al-Ghafari,
right,
by the name of Thabit. And he says that I was with Ali ibn Abi Talib on the day of Al-Jamal. And in the day of Al-Jamal, he says, I became confused as to who is on the haqq and who is on the batil.
Yeah.
He says, by noon, something happened which clarified to me what is haqq and what is batil. So I joined Ali ibn Abi Talib and I fought next to him. But then I still had something in my heart. So I came to Medina after the battle and I knocked at the gate or the door of Salama, al-Mu'mineen Salama, radwanullah ta'ala alayha, the Prophet's wife. And she said, who is this? I told her, I am one of the servants of Abu Dharr al-Ghafari. She said, do you need food? He said, no, I don't need food. I am here to ask you a question. She said, what's your question? He said that there was a confusion on my behalf as to who was on haqq and who was on batil during the battle of Jamal. She said, so which side did you take? He said, I took the side of Ali ibn Abi Talib. She said, you did the right thing, because I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi say that Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Ali.
Right.
And Al-Hakim al-Nayshaburi says, هذا حديث صحيح. He said, this is a truthful hadith,
Right.
it's correct and accurate. This hadith actually has a greater significance. Muslims all agree that the Quran is the direct word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
The Quran is the truth, is the word of truth. There is no batil, vanity in Quran. So Al-Quran is infallible.
Yeah.
You know? So this indicates that since Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Ali, Ali alayhi salam is also infallible. He's ma'soom. And so he's got the knowledge of the Holy Quran. He's got the ins and the outs of the Holy Quran. This is one of the meanings of this hadith that we can take.
Mm-hmm. And this is very important, again, with regard to the Imam's knowledge. What is the nature of his knowledge? Because then, again, if, for example, Imam Ali is the Quran, or Imam Ali is with the Quran and the Quran is with Imam Ali alayhi salam, and this knowledge has been transmitted down through the Imams, I guess this isma is what protects this knowledge as well.
Well, it's not a matter of protection of the knowledge. Isma is, of course, the infallibility. It's kind of a package.
Yeah.
It's the perfection. We have, for example, the knowledge of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi and his isma and infallibility. It's in the peak, in the pinnacle. And his knowledge is not only limited to fiqh or the ahkam of jurisprudence and religion. No, his knowledge is on all aspects. That's why the followers of Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam, we reject the notion that the Prophet is unaware of certain things that are not related to religion. For example, there is a hadith that is narrated where a group of Muslims came to the Prophet about them picking the dates from the tree, the palm tree. The Prophet said, wait another week. When they waited another week, then the dates went bad. So they came to Rasulullah and said, you told us to wait another week, and now the dates have gone bad. He said, well, you know, I'm not a date farmer. You know, so that's not my expertise. We reject such a hadith because we believe the Prophet's knowledge is not only limited in such aspects.
Would he have told them anyway? I mean, if he hadn't known when to pluck dates, he wouldn't have.
Any alim, any scholar, any person with some wisdom, when he is asked about something that he doesn't know, he'll say, I don't really know what the answer to this question is. So you go find out. No. But we believe logically this does not make sense, because imagine if now the Muslims came to the Prophet about this picking date and he made a mistake, and then he makes a second mistake, and then a third mistake about another aspect. Then let's ask ourselves an honest question. I see this Prophet who makes now a mistake and then a second mistake and a third. My faith in this Prophet, is it going to shake a little bit or is it going to stay firm? You know, let's be honest with ourselves. Because remember, and we mentioned earlier in another episode that nubuwwah is part of our usul al-deen, that we can prove using logic and common sense that there has to be prophets. And these prophets need to be infallible at all aspects, and knowledgeable in all aspects. If I see this prophet making a mistake once and twice and a third time, then, you know, my faith in this prophet starts to get shaky.
It's not only that. Supposing he committed a mistake and those around him who had less knowledge didn't realize it was a mistake. So he would have made a mistake on error or a misguided the people, and people wouldn't realize that they've been misguided as well.
So then but throughout history, we find that the judgments made by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa are respected, and the discoveries he made or the notions he made are still valid. One of the reasons for the knowledge of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa and the Imam, because the Prophet was also an Imam. Here is something that we need to make clear here. You know what? An Imamah is not only limited to the divine successors of Rasulullah or the Prophet. There are some prophets who were both prophets and Imams, like Ibrahim alayhi salam. And then there were prophets who were not Imams. And then there are Imams who are not prophets. And those are the Imams of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. And by what we mean by Imamah here is not just the linguistic definition of imamah, which means a leader. Because yes, you can have an imam of salat al-jama'ah, like the prayer, for example. You can have imam of a masjid, a leader. We're not talking about this definition of an imam. We're talking about imama, which is the divine succession to prophethood, divine, or the imama, which is the assignment of this leadership by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to some of his prophets and to certain individuals who were successors to prophets, like our holy imams alayhim assalam. For example, one day a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and he said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I'm, as you see me, for example, I'm a brown looking man, and my wife is darker than I am. Now I get a son who's white, so I don't think he is my son.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Prophet looked at him and he said, what do you do for a living? He said, I breed camels. He said, okay, good. He said, have you ever had a time where a camel, which is basically brownish color, mated with another brown color camel, but they gave birth to a red color camel? He said, yes, I've seen that. He said, the same thing has happened in your case right now. So this is your son, take him and go back. In modern day, this is the laws of genetics. This is known as the laws of genetics in modern day. The Prophet knew the laws of genetics, but he could not tell this man that, in your DNA you carry certain genes, and in her DNA there are certain genes, and these genes, for example, and so the guy would not have understood a clue. They didn't even know what DNA was back then. So he had to speak in very simple language, the language, that this man can understand. The Prophet needed to have that knowledge to answer this man. The Prophet could not say that, hold on a second, let me ask my Lord, or let me think about it, come back to me later. And we don't have anything like this happening to the Imams as well. Every time a man comes to the Imam and asks for a question, the Imam responds immediately. He doesn't say, let me think about this, or let me check and come back to you. No, never. The Prophet always answers, and the Imam alayhi salam always answer.
Thank you very much. We've just got a couple of minutes before we go to break, but obviously perhaps we can also, inshallah, after the break, talk about how this knowledge has been passed down, because one of the questions that many Muslims around the world will be asking is, again, what is the necessity, for having the Imams? Surely, Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, he said he was the final messenger and the final prophet. So why does he need these people to come after him? And there have been many questions also put to the Imams themselves, where people would come to them and say, well, how do you know what you know? How do you go about learning it? So I hope, inshallah, after the break we can explore that a bit more.
Absolutely.
You're watching The Awaited, and we're just looking at the extent and nature of the knowledge of Imam Zaman Ajalallah Faraj Sharif, and we'll see you again in a few minutes.